One of the most interesting uses of materials inside Unity is the ability to use them as a light source. That is, to take a material, apply it to an object, and then to make that object shine light from its surface. It's an incredible ability and an incredible feature, relatively recent too. Inside the scene in the viewport here, you can see we have this light box set up. The entirety of the illumination for this scene comes from the point light in the scene here. This is the one and only light source inside the scene. We can easily check that out by moving to the hierarchy panel and in the search field typing T for type and then choosing light. When I type that inside the scene, it will select for me inside the hierarchy panel all of our light objects, and we can see from the search results that this scene has only one light, which is a point light. I'm going to cancel the search, and that point light in fact is selected here. I'm going to select the point light, and from the inspector, I'm going to deactivate that object to turn the scene completely black. This is because the scene is completely absent of any lights at all. And now I'm going to move to the project panel. In fact, before I do that, I'm going to deactivate lighting inside the scene so that I can see the objects independent of scene lighting. In particular, I want these two wall objects to shine light into the scene using a material. To do that, I'm going to move to the project panel, right-click, choose Create, and then select Material from the menu. And I'll call this Matte and Light. I'm going to select the material here, and from the object inspector with the material properties selected, you can see if I scroll down further, there is a property that says Emission. This is the name of the property that allows a material to act as a light source. I'm going to enable that property, and from the color field, I get to choose either the color of the light or even an image that can act as the light source. In this instance, I'm going to stick with color. I'm going to click in the HDR field, which stands for High Dynamic Range, and I'm going to pick the color of the light source. I'm going to simply specify the color white. If I move further to the bottom, I can even choose the intensity of that light source. For now, I'm going to set it to the value of 2.2 and close the color field. I'm going to drag and drop this material onto the two window areas inside the scene and reactivate lighting. Initially, you'll see that nothing appears to happen. Now we need to check several settings here. If I switch to the lighting tab, and if you don't have the lighting tab open, you can easily display that by choosing Window, Rendering, and Lighting Settings. When the lighting tab is open and you are on the Scene tab, you want to make sure that down the bottom here that you activate the setting Auto Generate. This will make sure that as you make changes to the lighting inside the scene, whether it's through light objects or through materials, that Unity is going to detect all relevant light changes and update the scene accordingly. So you want to make sure that Auto Generate is activated. The next thing that you'll need to make sure is that the objects that have emissive materials, in this case these two objects here, that these are static objects. So I'm going to select this object and select this object and ensure that from the object inspector, both of these objects are marked as static. In doing this now, you can see that the lighting of the scene completely changes in response to the illumination of these two objects. And even based on the intensity of the light in different areas of the scene, you can see that these objects have now become light sources. I can select the material light property here, and for emission, I'm going to increase the intensity. And as I do that, you can see that the intensity of the illumination in the scene is changing based on these input parameters. So here is a great example of how we can create a very simple material with emission enabled and apply that to different objects in the scene for them to act as light sources. This is an incredibly powerful feature, and combined with real-time global illumination, this can have a huge dramatic impact on your scenes.